Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Mad Realms Vote to Kick, where we talk about kicking or keeping various topics in the gaming industry. I am your host, Malthanis. You can also call me Jim. With me is my guest, Aaron, back from the Silver Wastes again.
Hey everybody, I'm back.
I figure if they
Can't
ever
get rid
make,
of me.
I figure if they ever make player housing, you're just gonna can I be in the Silver Wastes? And
Oh no, I would live there. Yeah, no, I would live there. Definitely.
so, first and foremost, our topics from last week was ad blockers and how they relate to the gaming industry. And as you can see with our graph here, the keeps have it. It was 71.4% to 28.6. Obviously, what's
I'm
that?
glad I convinced somebody. I'm glad I convinced somebody.
You got a couple. Um, so that's, I can't say I'm surprised by that. There was a little, it's not exactly a hard yes no on ad blockers. It's a very complex topic to be dropping to keep or kick, but it was a good discussion. I appreciate everybody coming out for that and for all of the responses we got. So, what we will do is we will go ahead and get rid of those, clear those out. I said okay. Thank you. Where is that window so I can refresh it? Dude.
Top tier production.
Top tier editing here.
Yeah,
It needs
no,
to.
absolutely.
It didn't delete the. Why you gotta do this to me?
See, guys, these are the parts that should get cut out, but that we're gonna leave in just for the fun,
There we go.
just for the extra fun feel.
Yeah, the super fun feel.
Yes.
So we're going to go ahead and move on to our next, as I have to turn the responses back on. Then go get the. So our next topic is, as you can tell by the title of the stream, for those of you watching on Twitch, twitch.tv/MadRealms, 2 A's in the Mad, premium plugging. It's time gating. That
Everyone's favorite.
yeah.
Everyone's favorite item in video games.
So if you're stuck with a timer whenever you're trying to do something in a game, you can only do one thing a day, stuff like that. Yeah, that's time gating. For those of you in the Guild Wars 2 audience around here, that's so your crafting cooldowns. I've got the link for those in chat to go ahead and vote. Uh, it's not really something that requires a lot of explaining, kind of like ad blocking did last week. Oh wow, that was some quick responses there. Wow, wow. I like watching that cycle through. Thanks, guys.
People are on the ball.
I'm going to be arguing keep for time gating. Aaron is going to be arguing kick. And as per usual, I'm going to allow my guest to go first because, it's polite to allow the guest to go first. So, Aaron, take it away.
All right. So my first, I have for anybody who's ever seen me on any of the various things that I've been a part of in the past, you may or may not have heard any of my rants about time gating. My biggest issue with time gating, and I have several points here and a few sub points, but my biggest issue is the fact that I find time gating to be insulting to my time as a consumer and as a player of the video gaming question. I think as an adult in the world who purchased a product, I would like to enjoy my time with that product on my own terms. And I think that time gating says, no, you don't get to do that. And that I think that's fundamentally anti-consumer, in my opinion.
Is that
Yeah, that's point number one.
point number one? Okay.
Open for rebuttal.
Um, I do think, and to be honest, that's probably the biggest, the biggest talking point behind getting rid of time gating. And I agree with that to a point, depending on the window of the time gating. If you have 2 hours to do a thing, then and that's like the only window you have to do it, go screw yourself. I don't want to deal with a game that only gives me 2 hours out of a day to do a thing, because I go to the gym, I have work, I have chores I have to do, I have a dog I have to walk because he's old and he needs to, stay in shape. I have a wife, I have friends I need to spend time with outside of my room doing things other than playing video games, as much as
Dude,
I
are
would
you
love to.
are you even a gamer though?
Look,
Sorry.
if I
Sorry.
could if I could spend an extra 10 hours, if I could make a day like a 34-hour day and just have an extra 10 hours to play games and still be okay, like just chrono shift myself into an
Yeah.
extra 10 hours for gaming, I'd do it,
Hmm.
but I don't, that you all know of. Um, it's that's my personal rebuttal to that, is it depends entirely on the gate itself. Like, what is the time gate?
Well, I mean, let's talk about different types of time. And I come from mainly experience with the MMORPG Guild Wars 2 because I play that a lot. But time gating is also frequently used, and I'm just talking here about time gating in terms of gameplay, right? You have cool, for instance, in the game I play, Guild Wars 2, we have crafting cooldowns where you can only craft a certain amount of one crafting material per day, and you need multiples of those to then craft an item, which essentially puts a time gate on that item. You have gameplay cooldowns where you can only do something in the world once a day, right? And that would obviously contribute towards a long-term goal in which you'd have to do that thing multiple over multiple days to eventually arrive at your goal, right? And then one thing you mentioned, Jim, was cooldowns that only apply within a certain time frame throughout the day. So a good example of this for anybody in the audience who plays Guild Wars 2 would be the world bosses, right? They are only available at certain times of the day, and you can only get credit for doing that once a day. I don't remember if it's per character or per account, but those are some different types of time gating. But there's also monetizable time gating, which is something we see in mobile gaming quite a bit. Famously, Dungeon Keeper Mobile, right? Uh, you want to argue
I,
time gating on Dungeon Keeper
I,
Mobile?
I am not going to refute any kind of argument that time gating is terrible on mobile games. No, that's, you're right. I can't refute
Yeah,
that.
and I mean, but obviously there's time gating to various degrees in various types of games, right? I think we both agree that time gating in mobile MMOs or mobile games is specifically created to milk money out of impatient people.
Well,
Where
another example of that is specifically a famous example of the Harry Potter mobile game,
Yep.
the mystery adventure, whatever the hell it is, where if
Yeah.
you start the game and you burn through all of your energy at the start, you end right as your character is getting strangled by a plant,
Mm-hmm.
and you
And if
have
you
to.
didn't save up enough energy, you just have to watch it happen.
Yeah. Um, Now, granted, my coworker actually plays that, and she's actually played through the game. She's reset her account several times
Hmm.
in order to play through again, because they'll add new content, and she was like at the end of everything. And
Mm-hmm.
she said that like it takes maybe an extra 15 minutes after that particular event in order to have the energy to finish it.
Mm-hmm.
So, armed with that knowledge of someone on hand saying, "Hey, this is not as big a deal as it was made to seem on the internet," and it's just like, I can see that point. But you're talking about Dungeon Keeper, you're talking about stuff like
Yeah.
Clash of Clans, where it's like, yeah, you got like 36 hours to finish this building, but if you slide us a 10, it might happen in 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's just like that. Huge disparities like that are obviously a problem, but in the context of just pure gameplay, right? Like you can do like dailies, for example, are an example of time gating if you are rewarded with something from those dailies that you can only get from dailies. Right? So that would be another example of time gated things. And then whatever rewards you tie to the time gating dictates how many days a player is going to need to do that if they want something, right? And you can always make the argument, oh well, a player doesn't have to. Player doesn't have to do the time gating. My argument to that would be the game is there to be played. Right? I
Right.
purchased the game to play. I would like to play.
That's
That's that's kind of the fundamental um, area I'm coming from.
fair. Okay, so that's that's a good start for Kick. Now, I'd like to start my first point on Keep with a question. Draconis Mons, Guild Wars 2, is a zone that was released in one of the previous chapters of the story. For those that don't know, it included a backpack that you could upgrade. It took something like a month and a half.
16 days.
16 days. Okay.
Yeah.
So a little over 2 weeks in order to go from the first tier of the backpack to the final tier of the backpack. And honestly, the whole series of skins are pretty nice. The art team at Guild Wars 2 is fantastic. People complained about this. Now, I have a question for you specifically. If you could finish that backpack in one day, would you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
How many people would do that?
It would depend on what the recipe was. It would depend on how much money it costs. It would depend on what the sinks were, right?
Right.
But hardcore players would do that.
I'm talking like the current system, because I'm sure you've gotten the backpack.
Yeah, I have it.
It's a solid skin, and you're a big proponent.
Well, you have to get it for the legendary trinket.
That's right. I forgot about that. But with the current costs of everything, if you could do it in a day, would you?
Yes. It's not the greatest example for could you do it in a day because it's literally just heart repeats.
Right.
There's no like money that goes into it. It's just heart repeats.
Exactly. Now,
but if I could do it in a day, yeah, I would. I absolutely would. Yeah.
If people could do that backpack in a day, how fast do you think that zone would die?
It wouldn't die because if we're talking specifically Guild Wars 2 here, it wouldn't die because people need to go there to get ascended rings. So people would keep doing Draconis Mons for ascended rings. But you'd see less people there than normal.
Because
you would see less. I can't argue that you would see less people there than normal.
Because I finished Draconis Mons a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I say a while, I mean like 3 months ago. And it was very hard to get certain events done because there was barely ever anybody there.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the bigger reasons that time gating exists, is to make sure that there is a population of people in a zone.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm going to preface this as a gamer, as someone who plays games, I, for the most part, am on the side of Kick, because, much like Aaron said, is if I can do a thing, let me do a thing. Don't just arbitrarily stop me from doing that thing. One of the biggest problems I had with getting the legendary PvP back piece, because this leads into Zero to Hero, which is ranked Guild Wars 2 PvP after this show.
Plug.
Yeah. Quality plugging, yet again. You had to play 3 PvP matches a day for 15 days. That was the largest stopping point for the entire progression of me building that backpack. Which was annoying, but I only have so much time to play a game. I got it eventually, which, to Guild Wars 2's credit, it's not something that stops you entirely from getting a thing. So as a developer, as somebody on the other side of the fence, time gating is a buffer. It allows a development team to give themselves a window in order to develop more content, to fix current content if bugs arise, to notice trends in the player base. Aaron talked about crafting cooldowns in MMORPGs. That kind of thing stretches out the effect of those items on the economy, because those items are usually used for end game things. The items he was talking about are in Guild Wars 2 are usually the Ascended gear, which is the top tier of gear. And if somebody could just have all of the best gear the second they hit the level required to craft it, it would kind of throw, because you'd immediately have this giant burden on the economy of people saying, I want to buy this, I want to buy this, I want to buy this, and then you'd have a crash. And then the economy would be completely out of whack. So the time gating gives an inherent artificial, yes, value to an item, but it elevates an item to a certain tier in the economy, along with all the other benefits that a developer has to kind of push things back. Now, in chat, Wispy Gem is bringing up tickets, which Aaron has his own story about time gating and World versus World tickets.
Oh boy, guys. Yeah. Oh man. So this week, guys, I didn't make it. I finished farming for the Warbringer Worldly World back piece in Guild Wars 2. And what that means is I ground out a lot of tickets. And as Wispy Gem mentions here, there's a weekly cap on tickets. It's 365. And I did that for several weeks to get enough tickets for this back piece. And then I time gated myself, guys, in that I accidentally, I didn't know that I had to keep the back pieces that I bought, and I deleted them. So I've effectively time gated myself. So that's a fun anecdote.
Insert sad trombone sound here in post.
Yes. So luckily I'm gonna get that taken care of through support. But that is an applicable anecdote in this particular scenario.
So specifically to go off of what Aaron was saying, to translate this into other games, it's like you can only get a certain item in a game. You can only get so many a week, and then you have to wait until next week to an arbitrary cutoff point, and then your counter is reset, and then you can do it again. Mm-hmm. It's the same deal. I mean, it kind of stretches out the goal. Now, I do have a secondary to why these time gates exist, and it comes back to me going back to Draconis Mons, where you only have X number of things to do in a day in a given section of content. Now, again, Guild Wars 2, because we both play a lot of Guild Wars 2. It's going to be a game we go to for a lot of examples. There are technically 3 different game modes. There is PvE, which can be subdivided into some other categories, but I'm going in broad strokes here. There's PvE, there's PvP, and there's World versus World. All 3 of those categories have their own daily and weekly caps. At least I think most of them have weekly caps. I'm not 100% sure on that. But they all definitely have...
He has a weekly cap, but I don't play it enough to know.
Right. They all most definitively have daily caps. Now, for a game like Guild Wars 2, the reason that exists is... And it's not like you stop getting rewards once you pass the daily caps. There are systems in place where you just playing the game, you get stuff. Your time is not wasted. You just...
Kind of throws stuff at you, to be honest.
You get less stuff after a certain point. It kind of serves to push you to other parts of the game, because you're like, there's bigger rewards that I could be spending my time over there doing. Now, if you don't like those game modes, you don't have to play them, and you can continue playing the mode that you're in and still get fairly adequately rewarded. But it's one of those things where it's like the dailies in most of the matches, like a PvP daily, you can finish the PvP dailies in a single match, less than 15 minutes, as long as you win.
I was going to say, if you win.
If you win, yes. But it's you can get it on a loss too, depending on what the dailies are.
You can get 2 out of 3 on a loss, yeah, and then just play another one.
Aren't there 4?
There's 4, but you only need 3 to get your dailies done.
Yeah, so technically, if the cards fall properly, you can get the daily done on a loss, because you only get to complete 3 out of the 4 for a daily reward.
Yeah.
Oh, give me a second, QED. Let me grab it. If I hadn't closed it, because I'm a noob.
Oh, did we lose our poll?
No, I just closed the window on my end. Because
Gotcha.
I had posted the link in chat. There you go, QED, and anybody else who popped in. And Wispy Gem does bring up a good point. The weekly cap on tickets in WW is to keep a population rolling, which in a game format like World vs. World, for those who don't know, it is a large-scale PvP conflict. We're talking hundreds of people in a fight. It's honestly great fun, even though you might not know what the hell is going on at times. It is a way to get people to play other stuff. So go outside your comfort zone, see if you like something else, and it is also, you know, a way to extend the lifespan of a piece of content, which admittedly might seem like artificially increasing the time length of it, but the alternative to that is you could have it right now, and then people complain that I have nothing to do, I've done everything, because you have done everything because there was nothing stopping you. Or they go to I don't want to disparage East Asian MMOs, but a large number of them have mechanics that just require you to play for hours and hours and hours and hours to
An absurd level of grind that no human being should have to fall prey to.
QED. I made this. I might be on the wrong side of things, but I kind of I put myself in this position when I said that as the host I would always be doing keep. So
well, and you raised a couple points that I'm actually willing to compromise on. So the first one is the time gating of ascended crafting materials. Let's use that as an example, right? Because this could be applied to systems and other games. Ascended crafting materials are actually something I like the implementation of. And the reason why is because you can sell them. That is why I think it is okay. Because if I want to bypass that time gate, I can. You know what I'm saying? I can get right past that if I want to spend my money. It facilitates what you said is exactly correct. It facilitates the economy. It facilitates the spending and trading of resources, and it rewards those who want to participate in the time gate for their time. That is an implementation of time gating that I can accept. What I don't like in time gating is the completely 100% arbitrary, like the crafting of celestial gear in Guild Wars 2, for instance. That's wrong. That's bad.
look, just because you like to put all of your characters in celestial gear.
I mean, I only made 2 sets, but I think if you're going to time gate something, if you put in a system in which players can bypass that time gate at a heavy penalty, which the gold cost of bypassing ascended crafting in Guild Wars 2 is a heavy penalty. You're looking at about 300, 350 gold to craft a set of ascended gear off the trading post. I am okay with that. Another point that both you and Wispy Gem were talking about that I am okay with are the weekly WW ticket cap. And the reason that I don't have a problem with time gating in that scenario is because you have to play a lot to max out your tickets for the week in WW. You have to pay, I'm not sure of the hours, but you have to play more than 15 hours of World versus World a week to max out your tickets. That's a lot of playtime. If you have a time gate that I can get a lot of playtime out of, that's not nearly as much of an issue as something that I do for 2 seconds and then I'm done, and then I have to do that every day.
Because on top of that time gating in WW, you're also getting the reward tracks, the loot,
yes,
the experience, which I know there are some people who highly value spirit shards. There are some people who don't give a shit about spirit shards.
I wish spirit shards were interesting.
Well, then you need to craft more legendaries, apparently.
I can't keep up with age. I gave up.
No one can.
I gave up.
He's a madman.
He's my legendary daddy. I'm sticking by that. I'm sticking by it. It's a comment I'm sticking by.
Okay.
Yeah. No, you heard it here first, guys.
But and for chat, if you don't know, Celestial gear is a +2 all stats. It's not a large amount, but in Guild Wars 2, it's kind of a jack of all trades, master of none gear set.
It's not even a good gear set.
It can be used by some professions, not a lot of them. The item that is the key component to craft it, you can make 1 a day. You can get lucky and get them as loot from other bits of content, but you are guaranteed 1 a day, and it is bound to you. You cannot buy them on the trading post. You can't get them from other people. It's not the greatest system. It's cumbersome and annoying, and I'm pretty sure if I wanted to make Celestial Ascended gear, I would make other Ascended gear and then stat swap it.
Well, I mean, you'd still have to make the insignias, though.
The insignias,
yeah, right? Either way, it's going to take you a month to make a full set of it. There's no getting around the month time gate on Celestial Gear. You can't get around it. It's impossible. It's
Now,
fundamentally impossible.
the other thing that I think ArenaNet actually screwed up is with the first expansion of Guild Wars 2 Heart of Thorns, they introduced a large number of new cooking recipes. All of those cooking recipes, the final product, are account bound.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean to kind of just circle back, I'm okay with time gating if it's done. I guess soft time gating is how I put it. Soft time gating can be useful. The
Basically,
ascending,
something that does not 100% impede your progress.
yeah, something that benefits patient people and something that is attainable for impatient people. I think that's a great middle ground, right? Whereas with the to circle back to Draconis Mons, with the back piece, what you're doing in Draconis Mons, to use that as a specific example, that is an unpleasant task that you have to do every day. Speaking of which, you should do a vote to kick on hearts, but well, that's a whole nother episode. Um, basically, what you have to do with Draconis Mons to get that back piece is you have to do every heart on the map every day and get a thingy from it. That's all you do. You just go there and you do all the hearts. It takes maybe 15 minutes.
About 15, 20 minutes, yeah.
But Age would probably roast me for that, but he could probably do it in like 3. But the point is, it's just not a pleasant way to start out your play session. And as a result, if you've ever, I don't know when you were doing Draconis Mons, Jim, but if you ever read the map chat in Draconis Mons, every person is miserable. Everyone, without any exceptions. Everyone in Draconis Mons is miserable because they are all doing the same awful grind for the same awful time gated thing.
I'm not going to lie, it's a much more fun map with the Griffin.
It is. It absolutely is. But it's just like every single person on the map chat there is just like, doing my hearts again for X, Y, and Z, and then someone will ping the back piece. Yes, I'm done. And everybody's like, "F you, dude." Like, it's not a like. Yes, it keeps people playing and it keeps people in that map, but none of them are happy. None of them are happy.
That's fair, I suppose. And Josh, then you're talking about a yearly time gate. Yes, Wispy, just agree. Yes, an annual time gate.
Well, I mean, to be fair, you can buy Winter's Day presents year round, but to buy the amount of Winter's Day presents you would need for all the charge ports you need, that's going to cost
A lot.
a lot more than what I think is fair for what you'd be getting out of it.
Because you're effectively buying loot boxes.
Yeah, it's going to cost you more money than to craft like another set of Ascended or Exotic gear, right? So I don't know, Josh. That's a janky runaround at best, and it's RNG too, which RNG. There's another episode you got to do, my friend.
RNG. Oh, that's a fun one. Mr. Fuel, I would say I would learn to pilot the submarine. Because otherwise, if I fail at learning to pilot the submarine and I crash it, I'll die anyway. And if I sit there and do nothing, I'll die anyway. So I may as well die doing something.
And yeah, no, I just read the question. I got to agree with you, Jim. I'd probably try and at least get something out of the experience,
Aaron does not have a problem with paying to bypass the time gate. If he is impatient, he said that earlier with Ascended crafting materials, he will gladly buy Ascended crafting materials if he's impatient enough.
But I don't want to buy boxes that may or may not have the Ascended crafting materials in them.
You want the guarantee, not the chance to, because at the same time, it's, again, another psychological problem with...
Yeah, I'm not going to use the G word, but I don't really go in for RNG stuff in games, and that's not an opinion unique to me. A lot of people don't like putting their money on the line for RNG. Most people would prefer a direct purchase of what they want. So that's kind of where I would come to a compromise on time gating would be do how they do the Ascended stuff, where you can craft it on time gate, you can sell it. That artificially inflates the value, which makes it valuable to the economy, and it makes people want to bypass the time gate, have to pay for it. It's a win-win, guys. It's a win-win. I think you beat me because I compromised. So I think you beat me, Jim.
I compromised on a few points too, but this is a discussion, so that's our points behind this, and for everybody on YouTube, we want to hear your thoughts on the matter. So, vote. The link to the poll will be in the description, and sound off in the comments for your agreements or agreements or disagreements and on the points that we made today. And if you have any other insights on it, feel free to let us know. That has been Vote to Kick episode 3 on time gating. Nice 3. Good.
Yeah.
You're going to run out of fingers for that real quick. I have been your host, Malthanis, otherwise known as Jim. You can find me on Twitter at MalthanisMMO. You can find me here live on twitch.tv/MadRealms every 7 p.m. for Wednesdays for Vote to Kick. You can also find us live for some Guild Wars 2 ranked PvP for Zero to Hero afterwards. You can also find this channel live on Saturdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time for our Talking Script Guild Wars 2 news podcast with our fellow co-hosts of the Talking Script podcast. This has been my guest, Aaron, otherwise known as Guild Wars Monk. You can find him on Twitch and Twitter and YouTube at the same tag.
That's it. Guild Wars Monk, guys.
It's
don't Google it. Nothing will come up. Search it on the website in question.
It's shit posting and good memes, man.
It is, dude. There's so much quality awfulness to what I have to offer the internet. So if you are a fan of just debauchery in its finest form, feel free to pull up my channel and debase yourself.
I feel like I need to edit in an oh my gif. Who knows? Maybe I'll get fancy with the editing and I'll put some effects in. But
it's a fun time over in Guild Wars Monk, guys. Go check it out.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it has been fantastic doing the show again. I hope you all have a fantastic evening, and we will see you later. For those of you who are sticking around for PvP, we'll be back in a minute.